So I've been seeing quite a lot of this over the past couple months where people are talking about AI agents or creating AI workflows. And I wanted to get my hands stuck in a little bit, which is why I've created this new channel where I'm basically going to document how I learn how to use these AI automation tools as I go. And basically what I'm trying to do is just integrate these things and create processes or automate processes that I already do in my day-to-day life. Now, one of the things is I run an agency that creates websites, content, and general content strategy. And for the website offering at the moment, I'm running Google Ads and I'm basically doing word of mouth and sort of pushing landing pages through clients that I already have. Now, I wanted to take that one step further and sort of go for the SEO approach. So writing articles, blog posts, and that kind of thing to basically fill up keywords on my site that relate to that. Now I've gone ahead and created a Notion page and I'll share a link for that below, but this is basically all the steps you need. So after watching this video, if you want some sort of guide, all the links are in here. You can kind of just follow this and you'll be able to make this tool. My website runs on Framer, so I want this to integrate as seamlessly as possible with Framer. So basically, firstly, you need to set up Google Sheet, which kind of looks like this. Now there's two sheets in here. The first sheet is going to be your topics. So this is where you do all of your SEO research. You go and try and figure out kind of what sort of articles you should write about and what sort of articles you should have on your site. Then there also needs to be a second part, and this is basically the CSV or your CMS collection data for those articles and for those blog posts. And this is the part that then gets linked to your Framer site. So going back to the top here, okay, we need Google Sheets, Google Gemini API key, and that's, you can just go to aistudio.google.com and you get an API key there. And then we'll need a make.com account and we'll need a Framer site. You could probably do this with everything else, but this is very specifically the integration of going sort of creating articles for a Framer site and integrating directly with Framer. So this is what the workflow looks like, right? Basically, we've got a Google Sheets where we're watching for the rows. Then we've got that first automation or the first part where AI comes in and basically creates an outline. Then we've got the actual Gemini that's writing the article. And then we've got the one extracting the excerpt from the article. And then here I've just got two text parsers basically to clean up the text. I had some issues where it was creating additional HTML data because I've asked Gemini to return this in HTML data so that when it's pulled into Framer, a lot of the styling is already done because it's just one body section or one content section. And I want there to still be headings, tables, drop downs, block quotes, all of those kinds of things that are relevant to an article. Then after that, it gets pushed back to Google Sheets. So that's kind of the overall flow, right? So basically how this works is we add this Google Sheets component in when we connect it to our Google Sheet. It's quite a simple step. You can follow through there. And then you just give it the spreadsheet ID and you choose the sheet name. So in that Google Sheet, there's topics and content. So obviously we want to be looking at topics first, and we are looking at these two rows, right? Then we've got the next part, which is the Google Gemini part. Now here we connect it with using the API key that we get from Google AI Studio. And our first prompt is basically create an outline for a blog post titled, and that's where we're extracting the title from the sheet. And the keywords are this, right? So all we're asking is to just create an outline. Separating the prompting in this sort of way gives us a lot more control, and we can then use outputs at various stages to trigger various other actions, right? So from this Gemini, we get a response, and that response is then an outline. So we then prompt Google Gemini again, and we say, write a blog post titled, once again, we pull the title from the first Google Sheet, using the following blog outline. So that we give it the blog outline, and then we say ensure a focus on these keywords, and that's where we're referencing the keywords again. I've got sort of multiple stages in this prompt because I'm looking for specific things. So in the next part, I'm basically saying where it's appropriate or relevant, hyperlink words or phrases to link back. So basically I want to backlink from articles to my website's landing page. And obviously also don't explicitly state the URL because I found that it would literally just go and put this URL in. I don't want that. I want it to create hyperlinks so that it's not an obvious cell in the articles and in the blogs. Always hyperlink, do not explicitly state the URL, and avoid doing this more than 3 times in the article because you do need to put sort of guardrails in that it doesn't just go and try and hyperlink every possible thing, and that's where it gets a little bit out of control, right? Then I've also just explained the context of the link to Gemini. This links to the landing page of Studio 2K, the company who offers custom web design services. Another prompt, again, just stay away from AI giveaway terms like using explicit headings, because what it would typically do is it would say intro, and then it would describe what an intro is and then give you that. So I'm basically forcing it to avoid giving an outline or giving a generic structure, and rather leaning into a structure that makes sense for the type of article. And then here I've just got another sort of section of the prompt for the tone and the writing style. So here I've given it an example of copy that I really like on my website. This is just sort of like a language and wording guide where I'm giving it an example and it should try and write in a similar tone and style. And then lastly, I'm here telling it to format the output in HTML. So I went and looked at what does Framer's CMS support, and this is basically just directly from that section, from the FAQ. And then I've also just given it explicit instructions to say only use H2 and H3 tags, because we've already got the title, and the title will be the H1 tag on the website. So another thing with SEO, if you overuse tags, you should in theory only have one H1 tag, because per page there's only one real heading for that page. But you can have multiple H2s and H3s, because they're just sort of subheadings and then subheadings of the subheadings. So from that, we've then got a blog post. Now the next thing is basically just saying create an excerpt from this blog post. Let it be something similar to this writing tone or style. So I've given it a style reference for a different excerpt that I've got somewhere else. Once again, trying to force and influence the style that I would like to use. Provide only one option, because I found that it would basically respond with, hey, here's a bunch of different options. And we want to do as little as possible sort of data cleaning and manual intervention. So just adding in guardrails where necessary to get the right output is always going to help us going forward. And then with the text parser, basically, I found that I was getting these sort of artifacts in the beginning and at the end of the pieces of copy. All I'm doing is saying, look for this, replace it with a space. So replace it with nothing. And then I'm doing the same thing at the end here for these three little characters, replacing it with nothing. Then the way I'm formatting it back into Google Sheets. So the last module in this workflow is basically connecting back to the sheet, but now we're connecting to the content side of the sheet. And then we're just specifying what information to put where. So I've got the title, and this we're pulling from the original thing. So this isn't being manipulated at all. I'm taking the excerpt, which comes from this module, and then taking the body content, which is after the parsing. So basically here's where the article is written, and then there and there is where the article's cleaned up. So I'm basically taking the actual content directly from this section. Then we've just got the date, and the reason I have that is because I want to sort articles on the website in sort of by relevance or by newest article first. And so by just passing in the date that that article was generated allows me to then just create the sorting there. So if I run this workflow real quickly, I can basically go and choose where to start, and we'll just choose one of the entries. So let's just go look here for a sort of title and keyword to write on. So let's go look at how to measure ROI on your custom website investment. And then here we've got the keywords that I want to include. So if we had to go here and we look for how to measure ROI on your website. Okay, so if we start from this point, I'm going to run this workflow now. And you'll see it's now creating an outline. So we can actually have a look at the output. It's basically gone and found that. Then we look at the outline that it has given us. So here's how to write an outline. And then this is basically what's prompting the next Gemini. This Gemini is the one that has gone and actually written it. And as you can see, it's an HTML format. And these are the characters that I'm removing at the parsing. Then we've got the excerpt. So unlock the secrets to measuring your ROI, your website's ROI. Learn how to track key metrics, analyze performance. This is where it's then cleaned up. And then if we go back to here, we'll see that it has gone and added that in to the bottom. Now jumping over to Framer, how this is then linked is you go to the synced section and you link that Google Sheet. And then when linking that Google Sheet, so I've already obviously linked that Google Sheet because it's been running. But now if I had to just refresh, this is the only part, sort of in the beginning and the end, you have to be quite manual about it. Like you obviously have to go and decide what articles you're going to write, or you have to go through prompting ChatGPT or some other sort of tool. You can maybe use SEMrush or something like that. Do a little bit of keyword research, do a little bit of thinking about what kind of articles make sense for your service offering, for your website, and then the actual content generation part is the automated part. So at the end, then you just have to sync it back up to your Framer site. So if I had to just sync this, you'll have a look here. Okay, so I just have to quickly log into my Google account again because it is obviously signed out. And then we can see how to measure your ROI. And here we can see all the content that's pulled in. It has automatically gone and given us the title, the excerpt, and the actual content. So now how that looks on the actual website is if we had to go to articles and we go to how to measure ROI. So that is how it has gone and basically given it to us on the website. So we've got our title, the excerpt, and then here's the actual article. And you'll see that it has gone and sort of done formatting. It has added the hyperlinks. It's even done a little bit of calculation. It knows that I'm in South Africa, so it's looking at South African context and doing the calculations in that as well. And yeah, overall, this kind of just gives us a lot of content to work with. Personally, this definitely does need some refinement. Like, I'm not a fan of whatever's going on here. It's gone and created way too many titles for body copy. I also at some point want to get this to work with searching for relevant images and to be able to just make this look a little bit better. But that's going to take a bit of trial and error and sort of iterating on it. This is kind of the first sort of AI automation or AI workflow that I've built in make.com, and I'm going to be building a lot more. I've got a few other ideas, but I just thought it was really cool to share this project, and especially since I've just learned this and sort of just figuring this out, I think it's great to document that and let other people learn it. I'm definitely going to share this Notion link. And this basically walks you step by step through everything I did. Something I didn't mention now is basically how to map your fields in Framer. So basically you need to tell Framer what each field or what type of content to expect from each field in the Google Sheet. For example, the title is a string, the excerpt's a string. However, the content is formatted text, and that's because I'm giving it in HTML format, and then date is obviously in the date format. Yeah, beyond that, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done here, but I'm going to sort of keep building out these tools. The next tool I want to build is basically one that looks at my email inbox, reads my emails, decides whether a response is required for that email. If no response is required, basically just ignore it. And if a response is required, either generate a response for it, save it to my drafts so that I can go and review it before I send it. Or if there's a task that is required from that, it will basically go and extract that task, push it to my Notion database, and automatically sort of manage my tasks for me. As soon as I figure that out, as soon as I build that workflow, I definitely will document that. I'll share that on this channel. But yeah, I'm excited for this. This is a new sort of step, a new direction that I'm going in with basically taking all of the skills and all of the tools I've learned in the past and just basically going down this. So if you're interested in building these sort of tools and systems to automate your business and help make you more productive, then definitely subscribe to this channel. And if you have any questions, of course, just leave them in the comments. If you'd like me to help you implement this, you can, of course, just book a call with me and I'll help you implement something like this for your business. But yeah, that's all for today, and I'll catch you in the next one.